15.
Very good. Thank you very much. I don't like using the speech. I like us to go on real action. May I correct you one thing? Chairman, all protocol observed, that is the shortest shortcut you can have in Nigeria, Kenya, when you're addressing a gathering. Corruption is not being done in darkness. Corruption in Kenya is done in the open. Traffic policemen are openly collecting bribes. You see them as you are driving, they don't care. But there's good news. It's very important that we've talked about that mentor. I had just said something to the IG this morning. When I was coming to the office, I saw a policeman in a very compromising situation with a motorist that has been stopped, and he has texted me very good news. The new police uniform will be having your name and the number. So it's something that they are working on it, and we need to understand something about this country. That the fight against corruption should not be the way you are in your room and there are so many mosquitoes and you try to kill those mosquitoes with your hands. You will not finish them. The best way is to put a net, to spray, and then you sleep comfortably. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the grand strategy of eradicating corruption in this country. You can have the best laws. If the enforcers are corrupt, what happens? I keep on talking about our time when we were in school, during the CPE and the KCE. For those of us who are over 52 years, I think when you are under 52, you must have done 844. If you're over 54, and although when I went to school, there were guys who had beard then. So it can be subjective. How come during our time, exams were not locked in containers and there were no leakages? And today, you have a containers for national examination. The late Professor Magoha will inspect. CID have got their own lock. The GSU escorting the containers. Still you have leakages. Where are we driving to? There's a problem in the society. That is where we are. So how do we address corruption? If we are to address grand corruption, we have to look at three main pillars. Because there is this saying which I got it from one of the books I was reading about corruption, that around the world, corruption has become a primary mechanism by which power and politics function. The whole world, including the US. So some of these things, when you see them here, it's a global problem. And they say many democratic states in the world are losing the confidence of the citizens. And ironically, the quasi-dictatorship states are the ones that are respected by the citizens. A trend that is very worrying. So, when we are talking about the grand strategy of fighting corruption in this country, first and foremost, let us look at the political culture. That is where the problem starts. When you have a political culture that a person like Bishop Oginde goes and vies for a post of an MCA, is defeated by an illiterate, just because there's nothing wrong being illiterate, but I'm talking of being an illiterate, quasi-thug, just because the guy has got money, and you hear that guy has got 5,000 votes, Bishop Oginde has got 150 votes, maybe just from the village. And then you expect good leadership and results. And the trend goes on like that. The governors, I was doing a small research on my own in my office. I noted most of the governors who had served two terms, have got serious issues with our office in terms of integrity. But they came twice. And if the law allowed 3 times, even 4 times, those guys will still be in office. That is where we are in terms of the political culture. We are talking with the public. As much as we make a lot of noise about the traffic, where's the problem? We are part of the problem, causing that corruption in the traffic. We are the ones who wants to avoid overlap. When you're caught, you flash 500 bob to that policeman. You're forgetting one thing. Most of those policemen had to bribe to join the police force. So they are in a mission to recoup the money that they pay. And it's not only the police, it's all over the entire public service. People have to do something. Coleman has, the person who spoke before me, he talked about Zubeda, who talked about the quasi or the journalists who are imposters. EACC is always accused that we take bribes. Some of these people who are alleging that EACC officers are taking bribes have come to our offices, including an MP, no name. The MP came busting, saying, you people are very, very corrupt. So I said, please come to my office. Luckily, that MP came with a member of JALA, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, who, because of our interaction, we know that MP is a good MP. So the MP makes noise. I don't want to say he or she. Piga nduru hapo na kusema nyinyi watu bure mnachukua pesa. What is? Do you have the number of this person who gave you? He was, you know, this issue of that some people were forced to bribe him. The MP came to defend his people that they were extorted. I'm given the number. I'm given the name. I go to the mailbox. I key in the first name. There is no such stuff. I ask HR, do we have a staff by this name? Hakuna. So it's a problem cutting across the society. It goes beyond journalism. It goes beyond. There are even the conmen posing as policemen. We caught one conmen who was purporting to be an EACC guy. And Mr. Abdi can tell you, the guy said, this is my profession. My children go to school because I'm a conman. I earn a living out of being a conman. I'm a graduate, I don't have any job. And I found that being a conman gives me good money. I have a kid in university, parallel. I have kids in schools. So even if you arrest me, I'll get a lawyer, this case will drag, and I'll continue to be a conman. So, where do we go? When somebody can just accept before a law enforcement that, yeah, I'm a conman and I'm earning a living out of it. So we look at the public, and then we look at the enforcement agencies, that is the police, the judiciary, EACC, KRA, immigration, all these agencies that have got powers to take people to court. The issue of lack of capacity. He talked about the immigration. It is worse everywhere, lands. It is worse in hospitals. It is worse in NHIF. It is worse retirees getting their dues. You can imagine. They are having a problem of getting their pension. And here we are talking of systems. So let us look at how we can address these issues in terms of streamlining systems and believing in the systems. You can have the best laws, but if you don't believe in those laws, it's as good as doing nothing. So let's talk about the EACC in the war against corruption. And I can say that one of the main focus that we've been doing as a commission is that because of our number that is small and the magnitude of the corruption cases, we are trying to do a four-way approach. One, the enforcement part of it, and we are looking at big cases as opposed of small people. We have a problem of having so many cases that are reported, and unlike the other organizations like the Serious Fraud Office in US and UK, where they just look at big cases only, as even if somebody comes and report about a chief having bribed, you have to follow it, but then you ask, is it possible that with this minimum budget, I send officers from Mombasa to Voi to be paid their per diem? So we look at grant corruption, and we also look at issues to do with asset recovery. And the focus now is asset recovery, and I want to ask the media, now this is where we are coming from, how we can partner with you people. The media will be the best entity that can assist EACC in asset recovery. You are the people who move around, you mix with people on the ground, the citizens, and once we partner with you, the issue of asset recovery will be very, very successful. We are looking at also how we can build capacity building to journalists. He talked about journalists being sued. We know and sometimes it's deliberate to subdue you people and to bring down the media houses. One thing that I like about the Kenyan media houses is that it's very, very neutral. We have no problem with media houses. Sometimes we have an issue with maybe a certain journalist. And when we tell the media houses that we think your journalist did not report this matter subjectively, we have never taken you to court, and we will never do that. Because we know the benefits. We know the benefits of the media to the EACC. I'll give you a very good example. When I was serving with the EACC in 2006 to 2010, I used a journalist in one of the main media houses to prevent the hiving of Nairobi National Park, where there was a plan to hive 600 acres of Nairobi National Park. And we are helpless because the collusion was very, very organized. It had very good lawyers who were trying to, I mean not lawyers, I mean the very good planners. They went to the survey, they looked at the document, they went to land office, they did a proper research about Nairobi National Park. Actually, that is when I knew it is not called Nairobi National Park. If you look at the title of that place, it's called Royal Nairobi National Park, 1945, if I'm not wrong. So they had planned to move even the beacons through collusion with land officers. And it came as an anonymous report. I was the head of the undercover unit. So what did I do? We could not sue those guys because they had not committed, when an offense is in the offing, there is no criminal aspect of it. So I got a journalist, we explained to him, and he gave it a 2-page coverage in one of the big print media. And those guys vanished, and that was history. Otherwise, if it was not for that journalist, 600 acres of Nairobi National Park were going to be, it was going to be hived illegally, and whatever they were going to put, either an estate or an industry, nobody knows. So partnership with the media is very important. And the other thing is that, how many minutes to go? 3. Give me 5. So the other thing that we need to do is, please give us the support in terms of coverage. And we're not saying that we want to be praised. You can critique us, because Waswahili wanasema anayekupenda na anakuambia kweli. So you come and tell us, here you are going wrong, here you are not doing very well. We talk about corruption trends and priority areas of focus, and here what we mean is, where is our focus? Our focus is in county government. You have politicians who fought it out to win the last elections, the governors and other levels. People are trying to recoup, because the political culture of this country is money. People are trying to recoup what they spent during the campaigns, and they are also looking forward what to put in reserve for 2027 and a plan C in case I've been defeated. Do I have enough money to maintain this lifestyle, or I'll go down to the drains? So we are focusing on county governments, and we have realized that there are governors in counties where they have encouraged corruption to thrive, which include fictitious spending bills, where they don't have some invoices, procurement of processes. They're trying to be very smart, they're avoiding conflict of interest, so they use their friends to form companies and they give them contracts. And then employment irregularities, that is the other focus, and we're looking at government delivery. My friend talked about the Nyayo House. I had actually talked about immigration here, lands, NHIF and state corporation. These are very big problems. These are areas that every time we get complaints. And then we are talking about traffic corruption, and traffic corruption, we are not trying to use the concept of killing mosquitoes using hands. We want to partner with the IG, we want to go through the head of public service, we want to go through the Minister for Internal Security, and we come up and see how we can address this issue of traffic corruption. You talked about petty corruption. I don't think traffic corruption is a petty corruption, because it has a lot of effects. I feel, because if if you go to Konabaridi, I do some hiking sometimes in Gombe, so I go to Konabaridi. From Galeria to Konabaridi, you even find policemen standing alone, 200 meters, 100 meters, stopping matatus and openly taking money. Somebody will tell you, I have my cows. The truck has been stopped. The traffic policeman has asked for this and that and that and that, but I know he wants to be bribed. If I bribe him, I'll move. It is causing inconvenience. That money that he pays the traffic policeman, it adds a shilling to the cost of a kilogram of meat you're buying here in Nairobi or wherever. So the ripple effects of that corruption is so big. If it can be quantified, it will be too much. So nobody should tell you any corruption though.